All right. I guess that'll probably help too. So, all right. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm not seeing. Oh, there we go. That just took a minute. All right, good. So it looks like we're on Facebook now and Twitch and YouTube and everybody. So yeah, again, my name is Justin Amerson. I'm a cybersecurity instructor and professional. And today we're gonna just talk about some of the things that are in the Security Plus. So there's a lot of free stuff out there, folks. There's a lot of free shit out there, and I'm not dogging the free stuff, but I will say that you get what you pay for. And being a certified CompTIA instructor and stuff like that, I will also say that more often than not, the reason you get a retake voucher is because they don't expect you to pass the test the first time. That's, to me, that's not the way you should train people. My goal as an instructor for anybody that I teach is to make sure they pass. I want to have 100% first time pass rate. All my students pass the first time. So right now I'm going through a program with a student out in California, and we're going through this Security Plus, the 701 exam. When you log in, this is the CertMaster Learning Labs for Security Plus. As you can see, it comes with all of the lessons that you need for learning, broken down. There are flashcards that you can go by if you want to filter out just, by individual lesson, or if you want to go through all 890 flashcards. You've got the performance-based questions, which are a huge part of the CompTIA exams, when you have to actually go through and go through a scenario and fill in all the proper things in the right order, etc. So you guys need to go. Hang on a second. I got the girls on. Hang on. All right. So yeah, the performance-based questions. Of course, we've got the labs as well. You got a few different labs. You've got assisted labs, which are kind of this particular this session right now is free. I'm not charging anybody, but this is a behind-the-scenes look at what you get if you buy a self-paced learning package, or if you buy a live learning package through CompTIA. This is what you actually get when you buy CompTIA branded training material, instead of trying to go live through like Dr. Messi or one of those other free, workshops. But for me, my guarantee that people pass on the first try, that's a pride thing. 90% or higher is my goal. And then we have in here also, we've got the assisted labs. Again, are kind of like walkthroughs, and then you've got the applied lab, where you go through and it's a little bit more intense. There are practice questions that you can go through for each of the lessons in advance, to see, there's a 12 to 20 questions or whatever in each one. And if you want to make sure you are, getting some good practice, you can always just go in and reset the questions. I think you should be able to reset them all, right? Yeah. So that way you can go back through. And then, of course, there's the practice assessment that comes in. The actual practice assessment is 87 questions. you get 90 minutes to go through it. And then there are additional resources in the lesson plan. Again, this is if you go through the self-paced learning. If you all of this, the training is the same for the self-paced learning as it is for instructor-led training with an instructor. You're going to get this access to the same material. The only difference is with live instructor-led training, you're basically paying extra to have hands-on, real-world, one-on-one interaction with an instructor for 30 to 40 hours, depending on the class. But all of these videos are the same. It doesn't matter. All of these recordings are the same. You can go through this at your own pace if you want. Again, this is the exact same training that you're going to get no matter what, if you get self-paced learning or if you do an instructor-led class. You can go through and rate your confidence over here as you go through your different lessons, etc. And they've got a game center in here as well, so you can go through. It's kind of like, it's almost like memory, where you have these little flashcards. And again, you can go the whole 890, or you can go one lesson at a time, and they'll tell you how many are in each lesson. We'll just go ahead and, if we just pick the first one, for example, it'll give you a term, and then you have to pick which of the flashcards or which of these it actually goes with. So the information system security officer is not a team, it is not an analysis, it is not a location, it is not a concept, and it is not DevOps. So the only option is going to be an organizational role with technical responsibilities. Now, again, this is, you can pause it to review. It's kind of times you get 3. The more cards you can get through, the better off it is. It's pretty neat. So hang on a second. My dogs are fighting with the neighbor dogs. One sec. Let me get them in. Hey, come on, go. Knock that shit off. Yeah, so also, like, one of the great things that I love, particularly with being able to teach is, one of the hardest parts is you get, with a boot camp, you either get a Monday through Friday, and even the CompTIA will say, here's a 5-day breakdown, and it's 37.5 hours during the course of the week, but you get lunches and all that stuff, so it actually works out to about 30 hours. But here's the breakdown. They tell you to kind of go through it, but you can see they have presentation time and in-class lab time. So you have 240 minutes of presentation time, 160 minutes of lab time, and 50 minutes of break time in a day. So out of 400 minutes, well, 450 minutes, that's a little over 7 hours, obviously. But again, you take that out, you're really looking at about 6 hours a day. And out of that 6 hours, 3 of it is lab time in class. So students are actually paying an instructor to watch them do labs almost half the time that they're in class. So day 2, we got 300 minutes of instruction, 100 minutes of labs. Day 3, 135 minutes of labs. So over the course of a week, the in-class lab time is 655 minutes, which is 11 hours. 11 hours out of a 30-hour class is in-class lab time. So with by signing up for the classes with Southern Tier Cybersecurity, you get a proprietary modular training methodology where we break down your 30 or 40 hours into 10 equal sessions. You can schedule those with me during 8 to 8, Monday through Friday, Eastern time, or 10 to 6, Saturdays and Sundays on the weekends. And you get 2 months to use the 30 hours or 40 hours. You don't have to get it all in a week or anything like that. So it's a really great opportunity, again, to get in and get a great career. I used to be a chef. After 15 years and 20 years in food and beverage, I got out of that, and now I do cybersecurity for a living. I'm an adjunct professor for Tulane University, and I run a consulting firm and training center, and I'm a highly paid consultant for a hospital group down in Boston. So, life is doing, I can't complain. Life is good for me. Did I not go live with this? Jeez Louise. All right. Sorry. There was. All right. For some reason, my Facebook Live didn't go start. So, yeah. Gotta make sure I have all my windows muted. One of them in the background. There we go. All right. One of the windows in the background was causing some echo. So, yeah, like today, the plan was just kind of show everybody what, and again, this is if you go through, there's a great structure learning plan where it will walk you through, it'll tell you based on your current performance, what you need, what you've done, how, blah, 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 how to improve your scores, learn by report, what you need to review, etc. So let's go ahead and we'll just go through for today. We'll go through some of the practice questions, one of the labs, the performance-based question, and some of the flashcards for the first lesson. So the first thing we'll do here is over here we'll go check out the flashcards, and then I'll just filter on lesson 1. So boom, the CIA triad. CIA stands for confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. They are the 3 facets of cybersecurity. CIA, confidentiality, integrity, authenticity. So again, you can give yourself honest credit. Did you get it right? Yes, no, or maybe. Kind of half right. So in this case, I would say I kind of got it right because I defined it right. So, but they are the 3 principles of security control and management. The information security triad. Confidentiality is making sure that only the person or people that you're trying to share information with are actually seeing that information. Nobody else is going to see it. It's confidential. So, fundamental security goal of keeping information and communications private and protecting them from unauthorized access. You don't want anybody that you don't want to see it to see it. Integrity. Integrity is not your character. I mean, it is, but in this case, integrity is the integrity of the data moving from point A to point B, or if it's sitting. Is the integrity, has the data been altered in any way? Is the integrity of the data safe? So again, keeping organizational information accurate, free of errors, and without unauthorized modifications. Availability. Oh yes, I'm sorry. You're right. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability are the three, not in authenticity. Availability is the one that the network people are most concerned about, and that's just, is a resource available when people try to use it? That's it. Is a resource available when they try to use it? That's pretty much it. The definition is ensuring systems continuously operate and that authorized persons can access data when they need. Non-repudiation is non-repudiation is not being able to deny that you did or did not do something. Non-repudiation is generally done, through auditing and attribution and stuff. So, like digital signatures, if you digitally sign something, you can't go back later and say that wasn't me. Your digital signature was used. So, non-repudiation is the, you can't argue that you did it. There's an audit trail proving that you did. So it's the goal of ensuring that the party that sent a transmission or created data remains associated with that data and they cannot deny it. So basically, all you got to remember, non-repudiation, they can't deny that they did it. National Institution of Standards and Technology, NIST, is a government body that does a lot of the cybersecurity frameworks and stuff like that. So they'll put regulations and frameworks and stuff like that out. Again, developing computer security standards used by federal agencies and best practices and research. Cybersecurity frameworks. Cybersecurity frameworks are like blueprints that you'd use to do certain things. So you might have a blueprint to build a garage, and that might be different than your blueprint to build a 2-story house. So, but the framework of the garage and the framework of the 2-story house are still going to use some of the same materials. So cybersecurity frameworks are just, modular pieces of cybersecurity documentation that are applicable to certain things. Like you might have a framework for banking, and you might have one for virtual private networks, and you might have a framework that's specifically for hospital computers. So again, standards, best practices, and guidelines for effective security risk management. Some frameworks are general in nature, while others are specific to industry types or technologies. Security controls are things that you put in place to affect or import some kind of control over security measures, whether they're physical controls like a lock on a door, or security control like 2-factor authentication. But it's a technology or a procedure put in place to mitigate vulnerabilities and risk, and to ensure that the CIA triad, and I don't get this, to ensure the confidentiality, the CIA of information. So that's there. Gap analysis is what you do to figure out what you got to do to fix a problem. You don't know what your problem is until you, if you're going to plan a road trip, you know where you are, you know where you want to get. The spot between is the gap. You have to figure out that gap. How do you analyze to get from A to B? You do a gap analysis. Measuring the difference between the current and the desired states to help better assess the scope of the work included in a project. IAM, Identity and Access Management. This is the particular security domain that deals with users and authorization and authentication. Are they who they say they are? How do you manage their identity? How do you manage their access to resources, etc.? So again, this is a process providing identification, authentication, and authorization for mechanisms for users, computers, and other entities to work with organizational assets like networks, operating systems, and applications. Identification. Are you who you say you are? Can you prove that? When you enroll in a company, they give you a user ID. You log in, that kind of stuff. Authentication. Can you prove your identity? You're given an identity when you get hired on. Authentication is, can you prove that identity? Driver's license, birth certificate, in this case, corporate badge or something like that, username, password, multi-factor authentication. Can you prove that you are the individual and that you have got your unique credentials? Authorization. Once your identity has been authenticated and we proved that you are who you say you are, now we got to figure out what can you do? So that's your authorization. So think you go to Disneyland or Busch Gardens or Six Flags or some other theme park in the United States or overseas, and you get a wristband for general admission when you go in. And it's, basically says, or, a county fair or something. And that general admission has authenticated you as paying, and you're authorized to be in the park and go on rides and wait in line like everybody else. But maybe you get a fast pass. Maybe you get a special bracelet that lets you go to the front of the line. You get a different set of privileges with that different level of authorization. So that's what authorization is determining the rights and privileges a particular entity gets once they've proven that their identity is authentic. Accounting. Accounting is not numbers and math like you would think, right? Accounting that way. In this case, the accounting refers to, are we keeping an audit log or a record of logins? Are we auditing? Is there an accounting going on? Are we being accountable to the things, that we're trying to do as an organization? So this accounting is more in the sense of auditing, and are we creating a trail that we can go back and verify and validate later based on certain settings. So again, tracking authorized usage of a resource or use of rights by a subject, and alerting when unauthorized use is detected or attempted. Authentication, authorization, and accounting. So earlier, hey, what's up, everybody? Earlier we saw the use of the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability, as the CIA triad. Now we've got the AAA, not AAA, the auto organization, but AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting. So we're just going to go back a couple of slides. And again, authentication, authorization, and accounting are all part of the AAA group. And these three together are used to track how people get into the network, who gets into the resource, what permissions they have, and what, keeping a record of what they did while they were there. And it's all in a centralized platform, verifying again the identification of the person. That's the authentication, ensuring they have relevant permissions. That's the authorization. And then these logs to create an audit trail. So security controls, again, things you put on, you would enforce the security controls. technical or physical control to make sure that your security policy is being enforced, to mitigate vulnerabilities and reduce risk. Managerial. Now, this is kind of weird. These flashcards. This is a particular managerial process. It's really it's a one of four types of controls: managerial, operational, technical, and physical. So this is a managerial control is what it should really read, because what we're talking about now is we're going to talk about some security controls, one of them being managerial controls. The managerial control gives oversight of the information system. Examples include risk identification or a tool allowing the evaluation and selection of other security controls. So again, managerial gives oversight of the information system. Operational, a security control that is implemented by people. So managerial is oversight of the system. It's a tool. Operational is anything done by people. Technical, it's a piece of hardware. You're doing a firewall, a piece of technical something. Hardware, software, firmware. Again, firewall, antivirus software, something like that. Those are all technical controls. And the last type of control is a physical control. These are going to be things like deterrents, barricades, alarms, stuff like that. Gateways, locks, sliding, security cameras, and guards that deter and detect access to premises and hardware. What is this? What is this BS? Tell me you can't connect this silly thing. All right, so preventative. Now we're starting to talk about different things you can do: preventative measures, detective measures. These are different kinds of things that you can do. Security controls, preventative security controls, acts before an incident, prevents it to eliminate or reduce the likelihood that an attack will succeed. ACLs, access control lists. These are security policies that basically say this resource can talk to this resource, or this thing can do that thing. It's a list that provides access control and defines that. So there's, depending on where if you're talking about on hardware, on a machine, ACEs, access control entries, determine what subjects can do. Access control lists are what you put on like firewalls and stuff like that. A detective control is something you're going to put in place to detect when something bad happens, right? Like you want to detect things. So this is going to be a monitoring tool or something like that. Again, a security control that acts during an incident to identify or record that it is happening. You're going to detect it. Corrective. This is a security control that you're going to put in place to fix a problem that has already been identified. It is corrective action. Type of security control that acts after an incident to eliminate or minimize its impact. Corrective. Directive. Anything directive means it's going to be a managerial policy that results in a change of process or procedure. So anytime there's an update to policy or anything like that, it's going to be a directive. So again, enforces a rule of behavior through a policy or contract. Deterrent. Deterrents are things you're going to put in place to obviously deter. Again, security barriers, gates, cameras, mirrors, signs on the wall, things that people are going to see and go, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't do this. Deterrent. Discourages intrusion attempts. Compensating. Compensating controls are things you put in place when you already have one tool that's in place that's trying to meet a security need, but it's not enough, and you need a secondary tool to help fill that gap or to compensate. So again, a security measure that takes on risk when a primary control fails or cannot completely meet expectations. That is a compensating control. Chief Information Officer. Hi, how you doing, Maria? The Chief Information Officer is an executive level position, a C-suite position that sits with the CEO and CFO, and they are generally responsible for all of the digital information in the building, the digital records and stuff like that, all of the digital information, and that's the Chief Information Officer. Again, primary responsibility of managing information technology assets and procedures. Information Officer, information technology assets. Technology Officer is a C-suite executive level position that focuses on the technology a company or organization provides to the public. It is not internally facing. They are working on new products like research and development, and those are the CTO is the person that is responsible for tracking the technology that organizations bring to the public. So again, company officer with primary role of making effective use of new and emerging computing platforms and innovations. Chief Security Officer, responsible for the information assurance and systems security. So whereas the information officer is responsible for the information systems, the technology officer is responsible for emerging platforms and innovation. The security officer is responsible for information assurance and security. The information systems security officer is not a C-suite executive, but it's an organizational role with technical responsibilities for implementation of security policies, frameworks, and controls. So the ISSO sits between the management and the C-suite. Security Operations Center is the lifeblood. Basically, that's the the eyes on the glass, single pane of glass dashboard. They're watching the red, yellow, and green stoplight to make sure that everything's green, and if something happens, that they're the first level of response, and then they triage and direct it to the appropriate team. So the SOC is the location where security professionals monitor and protect critical information assets in an organization. DevOps, development and operations. So DevOps is a combination of software development and systems operations. Thus, DevOps, software development and systems operations, refers to the practice of integrating one discipline with the other. The idea meaning the two work together instead of one telling the other what to do. And then you have DevSecOps, which brings in the integration of security operations. So it integrates the development, the security, and the systems all into one approach where they're working and they're integrated together. Computer Incident Response Team or Cybersecurity Incident Response Team, the CERT. These are the people that are generally going to be responding to cybersecurity or information security threats. So, when I worked at CenturyLink, I was part of their global CERT. A lot of, endpoint remediation, a lot of dealing with end users. Did you click this link? So again, this CERT must have expertise across a number of domains. You got to be able to know how all these groups work together in order to manage the response, so you know how far the scope is, etc. What are the properties of a secure information processing system? That it processes information securely? No. Confidentiality. It's the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, availability, and non-repudiation. So the four properties of secure information processing are CIA and non-repudiation. WIT term is used to describe a property of a secure network where a sender cannot deny having a message. Remember, we did this earlier. Can't deny it. It's non-repudiation. Company provides a statement of deviations from framework best practices to a regulator. What process has the company performed? If you are looking at a framework and you're telling how far away from the framework you are, you're identifying the gap, which would be gap analysis. What process within an access control framework is responsible for logging actions performed by subjects? Logging actions is auditing, that's accountability. So that's the auditing and accounting process. What's the difference between authorization and accounting or authentication? Remember, you have to be able to authenticate that you are who you say you are before anybody can authorize you to do anything. I got to be able to be authenticated before I can be authorized. Authentication is, can I prove that I am who I say I am? And once I'm able to do that, authorization is, what am I able to do now that I'm authorized or authenticated? So again, authorization is granting access to an account. Authorization gives you privileges and rights. Authentication proves the validity of the user by testing to say that, prove that this are who they say they are. How does accounting provide non-repudiation? Because it creates an audit log, a paper trail, an electronic digital trail of everything that happens, and therefore it says this person did this, and they can't go back and say, no, I did it, because there's a record of it. So again, actions are logged in the system. Each user's got a unique account. As long as the account is secure and it's tamper-proof, they can't say they didn't do it. You've implemented a secure web gateway that blocks access to a social networking site. How would you categorize this type of security control? So remember, we've got managerial, operational, technical, and physical controls. In this case, you've implemented a secure web gateway, which is a piece of software that's blocking. So that's going to be a technical control, implementing software, and acts as a preventative measure. Companies install motion activated flood lighting on the grounds where it's premises. What class and function? This is a physical deterrent because it's really not going to, it's meant to deter or detect, right? And it might be a physical detection because it's floodlights, motion activated. So it's either going to be a detection or deterrent, but it's going to be physical for sure. So yeah, physical, it is detecting and deterring, both. So there you go. The firewall appliance intercepts a packet that violates policy. It automatically updates its access control list, or ACL, to block all further packets. What two functions it performed? It identified the violated packet and it updated the control list. So it did detection and correction. Or intercept a packet. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's right. Preventative, because you've already got it in place. The firewall is a preventative measure, and because it automatically updates itself, it's corrective. Security control is described as operational and compensating. What can you determine? If operational means it's performed by a person, and it's compensating means it's secondary. That means that there's probably a primary control in place that failed, and a human, imagine the dam broke and a little Dutch boy had to stick his finger in there. That's operational compensation right there. enforced by a person rather than a technical system, and the control has been developed to replicate the functionality of a primary control. In this case, stopping the water from leaving the dam. A multinational company manages a large amount of valuable intellectual property, or IP, plus personal data for its customers and account holders. What type of business unit can be used to manage such important and complex security requirements? So you've got a large value of IP plus personal data. It's probably going to be like a content management system, or a CRM or something like that, or yeah, enterprise resource planning, ERP, or something like that. Oh, a SOC. Hmm, that's what we're going for. They're looking for a SOC there. All right. A business is rapidly expanding, and the owner's worried about tensions between its established IT and programming. What types of security business unit or function? In this case, you're growing, you've got existing, and you're going to throw security in there. So this is going to be DevSecOps. DevOps is the cultural shift, but since you're throwing security in there, it's the DevSecOps. So, all right. Go ahead and take a quick break here for a few minutes, and we'll be right back. What the fucking shit? Fucking shit, man. What the fucking shit, bro? What the fuck, motherfucking nigger bitch, motherfucker? What the fucking shit, bro? the fucking shit? All right, so thanks for coming back. If you made it back, appreciate it. Yeah, so that was the lesson 1 flashcards. So we'll go ahead and real quick and we'll do this lesson 1 performance-based question. So the performance-based questions are really cool because you get this little scenario. You can close and reopen the scenario anytime you want. In this case, you're a security consultant, and they can't plan for every situation. So they're asking you to help out, and they're giving you 3 scenarios. In this case, you've got an IT administrator. The last attack did some damage. We need to add systems that did identify malicious activity on our network immediately. So we're going to add systems. That's going to be a technical. It is a functional type. We are fixing a problem. We are correcting because we had an attack already. And the control remediation needed is to set up a firewall. Hey, how you doing, Sammy? Thanks for being here. So the next scenario in this performance-based question for Security Plus 701 is employees are visiting bad, unsecure websites way too often, but have we even stated that they shouldn't be doing this? In this case, we have a CEO asking if there's a policy in place or not. So in this case, it's not really going to be an operational or a technical or a physical or technical. I think at this point it's a managerial control. And actually, yeah, a managerial directive to update policy. So that means we're going to find out, we're going to choose the directive is anytime you update a policy, it's going to be a directive, and that's always going to be managerial because you're going to put in a, if it was operational, it'd be a person doing it. Third scenario, the chief information officer says, it appears anyone could possibly walk into the server room. We need to evaluate and ensure only authorized people can enter. So in this case, you're going to be, it's going to be a physical control, probably a lock on the door. And this is going to be preventative. Install key card. Well, got a couple wrong here. So what I like about this, when you get a couple wrong, and I'll tell you. So in this case, it does need a technical control because we're putting a firewall in there, but it is detective, not corrective. In this case, I went with corrective because we're putting it in place as a response to a previous attack. So 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. It is technically a corrective action, but it's going to be put into place to be detective control. That's how they're justifying that. So, and again, this is an operational control for a human element, because it's a, and the reason they're going that way instead of managerial is because it is an employee policy, not a system policy. So if we go back and we'll check that again, we've got a technical, detective, firewall, operational, directive, to update policy, and we've got a physical, preventative, to install the key card, and that gets us 9 out of 9, and that's what a performance-based question looks like. So, let me go ahead and throw. So yeah, why is this stupid thing keep telling me that I have no sound, man? I don't effing like this platform. So yeah, again, my name is Justin. For those of you that are just joining us, I had to restart. We're almost an hour in earlier, and I paused the show, and TikTok died on me. So, but we're still live on all the other platforms. Right? Yeah, make sure we're good here. All right, good. So we did through the flashcards, we did through the PVQs. I've got this lab over here. Oh, it's already been closed. So we'll go ahead and hit the lab. I do not want to launch this lab. That's the, I don't know why that one. So we're going to go ahead and just go through the launch the lab environment. It's going to open in a new window. And it'll take a couple minutes. Now, again, for those of you that are watching this and you're interested in maybe getting a program or something, you can check me out at SouthernTierCyber.com. I'm a licensed training center and delivery partner for CompTIA and EC Council. This just happens to be some lab work and stuff that I'm going through with another individual. So I figured I'd make a quick recording. While we're waiting on this lab to pop up, we will go ahead and answer some practice questions. This is the 12 practice questions here. And we'll just kind of go through that while we're waiting on this to pop up. And I always tell people you can always pretty much immediately eliminate 2 answers as never, they're not going to be viable. So if you want to pass a test, trust me, I've had 35 certifications in my life. Microsoft Windows 7 Desktop Enterprise Administration, my MCITP, was the only exam I've ever had to retake more than once. So you can always read the question first and work your way back. So if the CEO is going to hire a position, you're looking for a role that's split, separate from the IT department, managing security. That's going to be the CISO. The Chief Information Officer is part of the IT department. The Chief Technology Officer, part of the IT department. The CEO, actually, CTO and CEO aren't viable options. The CEO is not going to hire his own job. The CTO is not responsible for information technology. They're responsible for innovating technology. So the only two options you really have are A and B. And since the separation from the IT department is the qualifying statement here, that's how you know CISO is the answer. All right, so since there's no real time limit on these practice questions, the lab will time out on me if I don't go through here. So real quick, we will make that a little bit smaller there. Okay, so when you go up here, you'll have a little menu up here. You can save and you can split the windows, so you can have your, if you've got dual monitors or something like that, you can bring this little window out here. So we're going to go ahead and join them. I'm going to go ahead and bring my Chrome back to 100%, and then we'll just make that smaller. So basically, this is kind of going to walk you through the lab environment. That's all it's really going to do. It'll tell you basically how to go through, how to log in, etc. So in this case, Control-Alt-Delete. We hit the Resources tab. We want to change client to other user. And we want to just, if you just click this, it automatically types it in over here for you. So that's one. Over here it says resources. If we go back to resources, we can click on the Kali box and it'll bring up the Kali Linux box. Or we can go back to our PC10, which is where we were. As you go through, just kind of click these boxes off. Looking at the instructions tab, you'll notice that's the instruction tab up here. As you go through, you've got a help tab up here as well. If you ever have any questions, there's a zoom here for the text in the window here. At the top of the pane, you've got your time up here. You've got the actual lab, and you got your time remaining. Top right corner, you've got our menu and save. And again, you can split those windows out. Over here, if you click on the little icon, you can go full screen, full window to machine. Open in a new window, so it brings it out here. Or you can just reconnect if you get disconnected. So if you hit if you're using a keyboard and you hit, like for example, I'm using my laptop. If I hit my Windows key on my machine, it's going to bring up my Windows key on my laptop first. But once I click on the window back here, my keyboard brought up the Windows key. So I can click it here. I can actually use my keyboard. Up here, we've got all the different commands. If you want to do the Windows key for different shortcuts, if you want to type text, username, if you want to pause, reboot, turn off, if you need a virtual keyboard, restart the internet, anything like that, you can do that up here in the little lightning bolt commands. So When you get to the bottom of this, you've checked all the boxes. It'll say, confirm that you've gone through all of this. Make sure you check all the boxes. And then it'll move on to how to use the VM. So we've already connected. Again, if you go up here, you press Control-Alt-Delete, and it sends the login. And then you go to Resources, and all the login information is right there. So in this case, we're being asked to type here in the search bar, right there, if you need to. In this case, we're going to type CMD for command. And that's going to bring up the command prompt. And then we are going to type this. But as long as your cursor's in here and you hit this little T button, it'll automatically copy the text over into the window for you. And it automatically will create that C lab demo for you. And if I were to do, C directory, you can see we've got the directory lab demo that it just created in the C drive. Sometimes, again, it'll, if we need to copy or something like that, it just basically says you can use the little copy operator. When you want to, you can close the little X to close the window. When you need to maximize the window, you can always maximize it just like you normally would. So we're going to type here to search, and then just boom, hit the PowerShell. It automatically types PowerShell over here. And then we're going to right-click PowerShell, run as administrator, select yes to the pop-up. Now, enter the get date command. Again, just type get date and then hit enter. And it will tell you the date. Today's Sunday, March 3rd, 2025, 3:07 p.m. It's actually 4:07 p.m., so they don't have this set up for daylight savings time. And then we can close the PowerShell window. We're going to go ahead and bounce over to the Kali Linux box now. And again, in order to bounce over to Kali Linux, we just over resources and then hit the Kali box. It will carry us over here. We just, it won't let you copy and paste. So here we'll have to do actually typing. We'll have to type this in here. P-A-S-S-W-O-R-D, and that's a 0. Oh, I've got it root. That's why I don't have it backwards. So normally most demonstrations will use Tor, T-O-O-R, which is root spelled backwards, so that they're not using the root account. So yeah, this is what a Kali Linux box looks like. So we are logged into Kali. If we go over to Kali here, we've got the Kali menu, favorites, all the apps, different tools and stuff if you're looking for specific wireless attacks or specific database attacks, so they're going to be grouped there. Up here we also have restore and minimize, you got our root folder, we've got our text editor, we've got Firefox, we've got our terminal emulator, and now they have in the newer versions of Kali Linux, they've got this root emulator. So normally you'd have a terminal window and you'd have to do like a sudo command or su to get a power user. Now Kali Linux has a separate root terminal that you have to use to get that emulator. If you click on a regular terminal emulator, you'll notice it's got a black icon, but if you use the root emulator, it will have a red icon, and you'll get different. So you won't be able to run sudo commands. You'll notice this changes from red coloring to black, I believe, when I switch over to a regular one. No. Anyways, so you have different desktops you have up here. You've got your networking connections and stuff like that. So that's the basic Windows and a Kali Linux. We already opened a terminal emulator. We'll go ahead and open that. We'll maximize it. And in here, we're going to type pwd, enter. And that's going to give you the root directory that we're in, which is /root. If we type IP, enter. I'm sorry, IP /A. I'm sorry, IP space A. That's going to give us our IP address in the network adapter. So we can see here we've got our loopback with LO, loopback, which is the 127.0.0.1. We've got our Ethernet 0, which is our first Ethernet connection, which has the 10.1.16.66. And then there's another Ethernet connection that looks like it's not plugged in. And then we're going to move on to the next exercise. It says leave the terminal window open. So now we're coming to the end of the lab, and we've got some inline questions and some verification to do and stuff like that. So the important thing of these is you got to use the exact commands and file names specified in the instructions. If you miss, which is why they have the copy and paste thing, it all types it for you. Because if otherwise, too many people are having problems with copy and paste errors, and it's just problematic. So we've got the terminal window open on Kali Linux. We're going to type in host name. There we go. Actually, clear. It'll bring me back to the top, and then to type in host name, enter, and it will tell you the name of the device, which in this case is Kali. So, and we're going to choose here. It is called Kali. That is the name. We're going to score it. Boom. We answered correctly. Now we're going to type in IP space A pipe grep, which is general regular expression parsing. That's what grep stands for. If y'all didn't know, grep is an acronym, general regular expression parser, or something like that. ETH0. And we're going to pipe that, or we're going to pipe grep, and then the cat there, the right arrow, or the greater than sign there, is basically saying we're going to take the information that we're grepping from ETH0, and we're going to write it to ETH0 underscore config.txt. enter, and then it will score to make sure that 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 file has been found. And if you do an ls list, you'll see that the file is there now, right? And if we do a vim, which is inline text editor, you can see that we've dumped that. So we'll go ahead and quit that. I believe we still have our open here. No. Okay, so now we're going to do cat eth0 concatenate cat eth0. We're going to read this file config.txt. Cat is basically reads files, and it's going to tell us that one line in the file. Please enter the INET address. In this case, it is 10.1.16.66. Right? Do not, and yeah, so it doesn't want the CIDR notation, it just wants the IP address. So we'll go ahead and score that. You have answered correctly. And then we'll go ahead and close the terminal window. And as you can see, checking our work, we've completed all the tasks. So then we've got a couple of comprehensive questions that wrap things up here at the end. What lab interface menu is used to maximize the presentation of the VMs to take full advantage? Now that's going to be over here under commands. So it's going to be commands. Oh, hang on. Display. That's the commands. That's the display. Commands, display. Commands is the lightning bolt. Display is the picture there. What options are available in the 3-line hamburger menu? So over here, we've got save, end, and split windows. So we're going to do end, split, and save. Well, what tab or in what menus are VM's username and passwords? That's going to be in the resources tab. Oh, it'd probably be in the instructions too. If they'll tell you, not if you don't see it in the instructions, you can always find it in the resources as well. Commands must be manually entered. Yes, they must be manually entered into Kali Linux. Which of the following can be repeated if the first attempt is failed or incorrect? All the above, I would think, right? Yeah, there you go. So we're going to grade that lab. We're going to make sure we got 100% completed, and then we're going to hit submit. Yes, we would like to submit this for grading. And boom, 8 out of 8, we passed. Congratulations. We can go ahead and close this window. And we'll bounce back over here to the practice questions. We'll knock these out real quick, and that'll probably be the end of this presentation for today. So again, reading the question from the back. So we're looking for a security control function type that best describes the function of these recent implementations. So this is after a breach. We have recovered. That's going to be corrective. Right? That's how you know that. We're recovering from something. We're correcting a problem. After restoring a file for backup, in this case, the company does not know who deleted the file. Why is that a problem, and what could have helped? Non-repudiation would have prevented this from happening. Non-repudiation is the answer. An engineer for a small company is trying to explain the importance of security to the owner. The owner does not feels company does not need permissions. What security concept means that the information can only be read by people that you need it to be read by. That's confidentiality. An IT manager conducts an audit of support tickets, noticing a trend with the tickets around new computer setups. What security control function would the manager implement? Would the manager's implementation of a new operating procedure? Anytime you have a change of procedure, that's a directive. You have the CISO CEO requests to hire a new team for monitoring and protecting critical information assets through the company. Since it's underneath the security officer, we're going to look for a security operations center. What modern component or component of modern access controls determines what rights a user has? So remember, identification is who you are. I am so-and-so. Authentication is, I can prove I'm so-and-so because I have their username, password, thumbprint, whatever. Authorization is what rights you get when you are there. And accounting is leaving an audit trail for after the fact. So a CISO is implementing NIST framework, which first function would help better develop company security policies, such as acceptable use and build out recommendations. You have to identify before you can do anything. You have to identify. After implementing NIST framework, the CISO is assessing the posture to identify deficiencies. You're comparing your existing against where you want it to be, identifying the gaps. That's gap analysis. A newly hired CISO met with HR to discuss how to better manage the company's access to sensitive information. In this case, you would think it might be documenting access controls, but it's not. You're going through HR, you're reviewing user permissions to find out who needs access to what. After its recent server outage, company discovered an employee accidentally unplugged a power cable from a server housed in an unsecured closet. Which security control would have fixed this? If there was a lock on the door, he wouldn't have been able to get into it. Boom. Medium-sized mechanical engineering firm wants to better define the account creation process during new hire onboarding. So we're definitely not going to be talking about C-level executives. That only leaves identity access management or lightweight directory access protocol, right? LDAP. So in this case, we're dealing with identity and access management. There you go. All right, folks. So that's about 90 minutes of the Security Plus 701. That's lesson 1. We didn't go through the lesson itself. We did the flashcards, the performance-based question, the lab, and the practice question. So please make sure if you like the video, hit that subscribe button, smash follow, like, share. You can hit me up, Linktree at Southern Tier / Southern Tier Cyber. SouthernTierCyber.com. If you're interested in any one-on-one training, let me know. One-on-one training costs the same as any boot camp, but you get one-on-one individualized training. Thank you for listening. Thanks for tuning in, folks. My name's Justin.